Hey guys, morning. Yeah, I wish we could be meeting under different circumstances, but unfortunately that's not possible. Decisions have been made and those decisions are binding, and it's time to move forward. So let's just get to it. Let's start with light. Let there be light, the light that lighteth the world, the light that shines in the darkness. God is light, I am the light of the world, you are the light of the world. Let your light shine upon men. Your word is a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my path. Have no fear of them, for nothing that is covered will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. So what is hidden? What's going to be revealed? Well, let's take a look. But first, of quotes. Just because something isn't a lie does not mean it is not deceptive. A liar knows that he is a liar, but one who speaks mere portions of the truth in order to deceive is a craftsman of deception. God expects the truth, guys, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, this is not a good thing. So let's put your hand on the Bible and let's take the witness stand. I'll take it with you. Why not? Let's do this. I'm telling you this because you're going to want to practice this. Fraud and conspiracy are serious offenses in the eyes of the law. Put simply, a criminal conspiracy is an agreement to commit an unlawful act, say fraud, or maybe injure or kill someone. The agreement itself is the crime, but at least one co-conspirator must take an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. The overt act itself need not be unlawful, and not all members of the conspiracy are required to take an overt act. One co-conspirator's overt act is enough. For example, one co-conspirator's rental of a van, a perfectly legal act to be used in a bank robbery, is sufficient for his co-conspirators to be held criminally accountable for the agreement to rob the bank, even if no other steps are taken. A co-conspirator must have knowledge of the agreement and its unlawful objectives, but it isn't necessary for a conspiracy to succeed in its unlawful objective. A defendant can be convicted of conspiracy, yet be acquitted of the crime he conspired to commit. To withdraw from a conspiracy, an individual must take some action to make clear his departure from the conspiracy, such as reporting the conspiracy to authorities. An individual who withdraws from a conspiracy can be held accountable for acts committed while he was a member, but not those committed after he withdraws. In other words, oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Not good, guys, not good. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you said recently regarding this situation, let's make sure we get our story straight? Only people who lie have to get their story straight. So a word to the wise. In Luke 14, Jesus said, sit down and count the cost. What he's really saying, in effect, is please sit down and take a really hard look at your situation and ask yourself, are you willing to pay the price of what this is going to cost you? Please sit down and think about this. I don't want this, and God doesn't want it. Please, for your own sake, for all our sakes, for the sake of God's kingdom, for the sake of making Christianity look like Christianity, like it's supposed to be, please take a look for Jesus' sake. Now, evil people hate the light because it reveals themselves to themselves. They will destroy the light, the goodness, the love, in order to avoid the pain of self-awareness. I know what it's like to be like that. I know what it's like to hide in the light, hide away from the light, in the darkness, because you don't want to bring things to light. And, well, there's reasons for it, which I'm going to talk about. I'm still responsible. But yeah, in my brokenness, I've done some hard things that I'm not proud of. But by God's grace, he brought a woman into my life who gave me the courage to stand in that light. Has given me the courage to stand there, see myself for what I am, but also see the reasons that made me into the person I am. I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm just upset that from now on I can't believe you. And guys, that sucks. That really sucks. You know, what happened to the 8th commandment? Thou shalt not lie. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord. A false witness will not go unpunished. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Whoever says, I know him, but does not keep his commandments is a liar. A false witness will not go unpunished. Be not a witness against your neighbor without cause, and do not deceive with your lips. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not deal falsely, you shall not lie to one another. Getting the treasures by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor and a snare of death. If you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. I mean, come on, guys. It's really clear, you don't lie. You don't steal. So now you see how the law sees things and you know how God sees things. Let's look at mental health. It has been said that good mental health is an absolute dedication to reality at all costs. Well, come on, guys. Are we dedicated to reality at all costs? And how's our mental health doing? David, you lost your shit on me the other day. I called you, I confronted you, and you snapped. Jen was right there. She heard everything you said. I mean, I can read you the text messages. You started blaming, shaming, saying I'm yelling at you. I'm like going, dude, I'm just sitting right here quietly confronting you. Sternly, but quietly. And rightly so, man. I stood in front of you no less than 4 times in the last couple of months, asking you for something. You said you just didn't know where it was. I mean, and Carrie, like, what the heck? There is a bowl in my garage, and if you don't come in, I don't know anything about it, only a little bit. And if you don't come and get it, I'm giving it to the Salvation Army. Oh. Well, so you're going to donate something that Mom bequeathed to us, one of her treasures, one that, yes, I gave her, but was her treasure, and you're going to take something of Mother's and just take it to a thrift store. Well, there's honoring Mom and Dad. That's a good godly thing. Boy, that's going to look really good in our family history. Come on, man. You call yourself the matriarch, then act like it. It's disgusting. David, right now, man, I got a call today from somebody, and they said to me, because there's a lot of people praying about this situation all over the world, and I got a call from somebody today. Like Africa, by the way, Africa is praying its ass off around this situation. Doug Hammond will appreciate Africa. That guy's a good man. He's got a great ministry going down in his church. Jacob, you should get to know your uncle really well. He's awesome. Having said that, this person calls me and says, listen, John, I was praying and God told me that David still has not repented. Well, Dave, that's not me. That's to you. And that wasn't me saying that. That was God speaking to somebody else. So those aren't my words. So just know you still have not repented. And David, when you pray right now, man, you're just talking to yourself. Because until you repent, he's not listening. Dave, man, you went apeshit on me. And you did the same thing when I went to Kaylee's baptism, 8 years ago? I didn't go to the baptism, I went to the house afterwards. And at the house, I quietly saw Kaylee, quietly left on my own, was quietly walking to the car. And you came out and started screaming bloody murder at me, bullying me, threatening me, getting in my face, wouldn't let me close the door. I mean, it was just like old times, man. Just like old times. And I'm like, so finally I stood up and you looked me straight in the blues and you said, we don't serve the same God. And then you slinked away. And I got in my car and just bawled my eyes out as I drove away. I had to pull over to the side of the road and I called my friend Alice, hey Alice. And I called Alice and Alice said, it's okay, Johnny, it's okay. You finally stood up to him. You finally stood up to him. You remember, Alice. And I thought it was over and we were celebrating because we'd finally won. It was over. But it wasn't. And that day later, you know what happened at the movie theater, Dave? Number 42, where I walked out in front of you and I sat in the back and watched and thought, does he actually know what I'm going through? What the people in Caledonia are doing to me? What all these people are putting me through? And then you promised me later that year that you would be my Pee Wee Reese. That's not until I confronted you. I mean, that day you just sat there like, you were sitting there in the front row like a bully who had been caught with his hand in the cookie jar, terrified when you saw me walk in. You had no idea, and I had bought my ticket 3 hours earlier. God knew you'd be there. He sat you right there in that chair. And he had me walk right by in front of you, and I just looked at you. Yup, you remember it. Anyway. Yeah. By the time I got to Alice's later that night, she had to comfort me. But she had assured me that I'd finally stood up to you. I don't know. Dave, all year long, as you said, I have never lied to you. John, I have never lied to you. John, I have never lied to you. John, I have never lied to you. How many times have you said that, David? I don't know anything about your music. I don't know anybody in Caledonia or anyone connected to that place. Not at all. Emphatically. No, Dave, God's been listening. And as for the belongings, Dave, I don't care about the belongings. I don't. I told you very clearly in the text messages, and I have them, I do not want them back. I do not want them back. And when I said this is, no one's getting up from this, I mean our family is going to be destroyed. At least parts of it. And Mom and Dad are really sad right now, David, because it didn't have to be that way. You stood up for me at my wedding. What guy stands up for another guy, for his brother? Well, he's lying to him and plotting his destruction behind his back. I mean, when the wedding was over and I was in the back, Jen was up front, and she heard everybody, he said to everybody, okay guys, come here. Everybody, the whole family's around you, and says, hands up, anybody who thinks that Jen is too good looking for John. I mean, who says that on a guy's wedding day? Who says that? I waited 50 years and went through hell to get to that moment. And look what you did, man. Who says that kind of shit? That's sick. Oh, it's just funny. Oh, I'm just having a laugh. No, Dave, that's who you are. That's who you are. You know, man, good and evil are not abstract concepts that float around there that we just get to think about and pontificate about and have conversations about. They emanate from a source. Good emanates from God and evil from Lucifer. That's it. I know that, and I'm not going to go too deep into all the spiritual side of things right now, but that's how it works, Dave. Just so we're clear, Dave, it's one side or the other. It's red pill or it's blue pill. It's brother against brother. Take your pick, man. Just know. I sat there waiting for you to come clean. Said it 3 times. I stood with Jen in the last 6 months, waiting, asking you something very specifically, and you saying, I did not know. I do not know where it is. I don't know where those things are. I could not find those things. Very clearly, those are your words. You've been lying for a long time, Dave. And you're so deep in the Kool-Aid now, you don't even know the flavor. And you're sending your daughters, you're sending your wife, you're sending your Kaylee, you're sending your sister to try and kind of cover it all up and protect you from this. Dave, I'm not a threat to you. I'm not coming anywhere near you, man. I'm the least of your worries right now, man. I am the least of your worries. And Carrie, you know what, like hiding, there is a bull in my house. Like, Dave, Carrie, stop. Just stop and grow up. That's wrong. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's just plain wrong. But you see, Dave, with every lie spoken, every choice made, God kept giving you rope. And as he gave you rope, you gave that rope to everyone around you. And now you thought the rope was to be used for his glory as you destroyed everything good that I've ever done in my life. As you were destroying me. But you didn't know. The people were watching, man, all along. What you were all doing. Do you guys really believe that everyone is committed to your lies as you are? I mean, come on, guys, these are big lies. I mean, that rope you're holding right now, that God gave you, it's for you. It's not me, man. God was giving you all just enough rope to hang yourselves. That sucks, man, because I kept coming to you. Like some dude trying to take keys from his buddy before he goes driving off after a party because he's drunk. I'm trying to take the keys away from you guys because you're going to drive right into a brick wall at 100 miles an hour, and it's not pretty, and I don't want that to happen to anybody. But that's what's going to happen if this shit doesn't stop. So why all the violence? Why all the craziness? Why the unwell mental health? Well, let me kind of color in the picture a little bit for y'all. See, Dave likes to tell people I'm gay or that I'm confused about my sexuality or that, I don't know, any number of things along that line. Well, because it's his thing and there's a reason for it, and here's the reason for it. See, one of my first memories as a little boy, maybe 3 or 4, was of me hanging on a doorknob in my River Court home by my underwear. My sister Lynn could hear me screaming bloody murder down the street as she came home from school. Ask Harry. It's true. David put me there. He had left me there hanging. I was 4. I know, ha ha ha. Kids do that to their siblings. Well, you know what? He's 10 years older than me. So I'm 4, he's 13, 14 years old. This was not a one-off. He did it all the time. My brother didn't bully me. He terrorized me from the age of 4 years old. Repeatedly, throughout the first 14 years of my life. One day he tried to put me in a big freezer in our basement in Calgary, and I had to kick him in the head just before he closed the door on me. You know, one of those lay-down freezers? Yeah, but Mom and Dad had put him in charge of me, so he forced me instead to spend the next 10 hours downstairs in my bedroom alone with no food till they got home. Again, he did not bully me, he beat me. Those are his words. I'm going to beat you when I get home. Now remember, he's 10 years older than me. Once in Etobicoke, when he was 23 and I was 14, he was degrading me as usual, so I called him, wait for it, gay. He then proceeded to overpower me and pin me down and put me in a headlock and wrapped my entire head in a roll of masking tape around my head and mouth and left me there lying on the floor till my father came home an hour later and found me. Dad had to pick me up, take me to the bathroom, and spend the next hour cutting off my hair and pulling off the top layer of my facial skin in order to free me. I mean, these are just examples of general behavior back then. It got so bad I'd walk by him and he would flinch at me and I would scurry off to the corner for fear of getting hit while he laughed. Honestly, I was terrified of him. I recently told Jen about the time in grade 9 coming home from our cross-country meet at Centennial Park. Jessica, you know the one. I'm sure you ran there. Anyway, I came home to the front landing of the house and you could see the kitchen up the stairs. I told her how David, sitting at the dinner table with Mom and Dad, looked down and said, "You stay there. Don't you walk up those stairs." Now, I was tall and skinny like you were at that age, Jacob. Maybe even skinnier even. Anyway, he told me he'd beat me if I came up the stairs. Well, yeah, it was to that effect. Anyway, Mom was terrified, and Mom and Dad just sat there. Me, I just stood there with my head down, waiting for Dave to give me permission to walk up the stairs. Until Mom finally told Dad to make him stop. Finally, Dad stepped in, and you, Dave, gave me permission to enter. You used to treat me like a dog. I told Jen that. I said you used to treat me like a dog. Again, something to that exact effect, I don't know. But wouldn't you know it, Dave, that very weekend we came home to your house. We came to your house to visit for dinner. And after the meal hour, your dog, Mac, came downstairs, and in the kitchen, you flinched, and the poor dog, quickly ran for cover. Megan, your own daughter, called you out in front of all of us, you, me, Beth, and Jen, and Megan, saying how mean you were, and that's how you always treat him. You denied, oh, that's not, but Megan held firm, repeating, no, Dad, that's not true. That's how you treat him. He's terrified of you. Megan, Beth, Jen, myself, all saw it happen as your own daughter admonished you. I looked at Jen, lifted my eyebrows at her, and she understood instantly what you put me through as a kid. See, Dave, you're the same guy. You just have a new dog to dominate. I would look at her in the same way every time you stated that you didn't know where the belongings were. Every time, Dave, you lie a lot. Sad thing is that evening I tried to do everything I could to build you up. In front of Jen, I praised you for all the winters you spent building the ice rink for Jacob, how you went with Jessica and her running and Megan with her scuba diving. Really good one. You know what, man? So why all the violence? Why? Because, Dave, I've never been gay. Never once have I swung in that direction. Never once. Never even thought about it. Never even had a homosexual fantasy. Ever. I can honestly say the only gay thing I have ever done was when I was with you, when I was a little boy between 3 and 5 years of age, and you and I shared a queen bed. You would have been 13, 14, I would have been 3, 4, 5. I can still see the green bedspread and hear the words, "Down there, yeah, down there," as you guided my head into your crotch. I also remember the day I came into the room and the double bed was gone, replaced by 2 twin beds. Carrie, I'm sure you remember when we got the new beds. You would have been the oldest. That stuff never happened again. Ever. I remember being happy. I think I was going to see Florence and Ed's at Woodstock that weekend. I remember looking up at the moon and being too excited to sleep because I knew they loved me, and I knew when I was at their home I was safe. But the next 10 years of terror I did not see coming that night. But come it did. Trying to piece all this out has been difficult. You see, Dave, you're the man of God, the beautiful wife, the 3 perfect kids, the pastor whose congregation comes and paints his new $1.5 million home in Leaside because they love you so much, and you get a new SUV every couple of years. Well, I live on the street and fight my demons that you, David, opened the door to into my life. Yeah, I've had to deal with them, and yeah, you know what, I've done stuff, and I'm responsible for the things that I've done in my life. But David, this is the truth, and this is what started it all. You even called me in the hospital one year and said, "Just know I'm sorry for everything I ever did to you." Do you remember that? Yeah, that's great, Dave, and I appreciate it, but that didn't fix things. Man, I had to fight my demons for the next forever. The demons of rage, anger, stubbornness, and hate. Being in Caledonia, somebody would call me gay or something like that, and it would all come back. I'd be screaming in my room, raging. Alice saw the torment that I was going through, as people kept saying, because I had to relive it over and over and over and over and over again. Thanks, Dave. I remember when I told Dad when I was 16 years old, and you denied it. I remember Dad coming back relieved, saying, "Okay, it never happened." And then you say, "Oh no, you're not gay. I'm not gay either, John." I'm like, oh, okay. I remember Ernie saying to Mom in Etobicoke, "What happened to John? Somebody must have done something, because I've never seen such anger in such a young man." I mean, what do you want? I even scraped your face off the family picture when I was 13 years old. Not to show anybody, I just did it and hid it away, but Mom found it and showed it to Dad, and he came to me and he was talking, he goes, "What's that all about?" I mean, I was in grade 9 and I said all these sexual things on a test in grade 9, and Dad had to go to West Humber and talk to the teacher because they were concerned about me. Heck, what do you want, man? I was always a reminder of what happened back in River Court. In our upstairs bedroom, you're disgusting me because you're disgusting yourself. The thing is, I didn't understand it. How could I? I was just a little kid. I just figured you were right. You were my big brother. We shared a room in River Court. We shared a room in Calgary. You didn't tease me, Dave. Your aim was to destroy any sense I had of myself. My ears are too big. Look at your nose. You're ugly. You broke it. Looks like somebody put a marble on the end. Hey, stupid, don't speak. Hey, ugly. Hey, ugly. Hey, ugly. Hey, ugly. Hey, ugly. Hey, chicken little. Hey, look how skinny you are. Hey, you're going to go bald just like Grandpa. Boy, are you going to be ugly. Nobody's going to want you. Oh, you were just a mistake. Who's going to want you? You were a mistake. You were a mistake. You were a mistake. Mom never wanted you. I mean, dude, Dave, I was just a kid. I was 5. You're 14. When I was 10, you were 19. When I was 14, you were 23. We moved to Scarborough. Things changed. I started working out and getting bigger and stronger. The beatings finally stopped. You couldn't hurt me anymore. And yeah, you know what? You did some nice things for me. You did. You really did. You were a good big brother. From 14 to maybe when Dad died. But after that, man, you know, what can I say, man? The tracks had been laid down. By the time I hit 16, my math teacher had to go to Tim Sim, my football coach, and say, "I know what this looks like, and that guy's going to kill himself." So Tim took me away, and we drove down to U of T one day, and I tried to explain to him what was going on, but what was I going to say? So I made up some story about, I don't know, I was working as a busboy at the Firefighters Club, and I made up some story about how there were 2 guys. I walked into a cloakroom and I saw 2 guys making out, and it freaked me out. And, you know, we talked about it. He said it's okay. He talked about how he had done the same thing at Hard House, and he'd walked in. He goes, he understood that it was hard, and But it's okay, man. Everything was going to be all right. Well, 2 days later, Rick Silva comes up to me. You remember Rick, Tim? Rick comes up to me and goes, hey, man, Coach Simmer was telling us how you saw two guys making out at the firefighters club, man. Well, apparently everybody had a really great laugh at my expense. So guess what? For the next 10 years, I said nothing. Because if I understood anything then, it was that if I opened my mouth, I would be shamed. So I said nothing. Nothing at all. And wouldn't you know it, 27 years old, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I tried to kill myself. I mean, between 21 and 26, I was just a ghost. I was just a ghost. I quit the football team. Just as a ghost. Yeah, but Dr. Peterson helped me. He helped me. He came into my life, and he was the very first person who saw me for who I was. See, Dave, God really did have a call on my life, just like Mom had told me when I wanted to kill myself at 16. We would talk about God all the time. All the time. He used to say, Mom never should have told you that. Mom never should have told you that. How many times have you said, Dave, think about it. How many times have you sat there and looked in my face with your sneer and said, Mom never should have told you that God wanted you. Mom never should have told you that God wanted that boy. She never should have told you. Who does that shit, man? Really, who does that shit? Dr. Peterson and I would talk about God all the time, and then one day I went on a run, and when I finished, he looked at me dumbfounded. He said to me on that day that what I had just said about God was right, but he'd never heard it before. He said nobody had ever heard it before. I think he just got up and started walking around the room. He was like, wow. I'm looking like, huh? He's like, yes, John, it's true. But the rest of us don't know that yet. I think that's what he said. But I just said I always thought about these kinds of things. I mean, I told Jen, most people, I don't have a hobby. I don't like cars or anything like that. My hobby's God. That's what I think about. That's what I always think about. And I don't know why. It's just what I do. I mean, the other day when you and I sat down at McDonald's, I baked your freaking noodle, man. I explained to you in a heartbeat the difference between how you can take two parallel truths of free will and God's control and omnipotence in the universe, and how they work together. It's easy. It's a piece of cake. For everybody listening out there, we have free will. We're the deciders. God does not make our choices, and he doesn't know what our choice is going to be ahead of time. He might know our tendencies, but it's not for certain. But what he does know is what he's going to do, regardless of the choice we make. That is the truth, and that's how his omnipotence works. But we'll just leave it there. I will not say another thing, but it's the truth. I promise you. It's the truth. Anyway, Dr. Peterson, he saw me for who I was. Apparently I was a bit of a smarty pants, and I didn't even know it, man. I didn't know I was a smart guy. Not like that. Kind of like now with Jen, it's like I didn't know I was funny. Evidently I'm a really funny guy. It's amazing what it's like when you're surrounded by people who love you and give you the freedom to be who you are. I remember with Dr. P the day he invited you and Mom to come with me to one of my appointments to talk about what was going on, but you both refused. He looked up at me when I showed up alone and realizing the situation. He said, okay, I guess it's just you and me. Johnny also said he knew a lot more about what had gone on than I understood. It's okay, he said, we'll do this together, you and me. And we did, and slowly I began to build a sense of self, who I was. I used to bring him my music, and he would be like going, wow. And then he challenged me. He said, are you going to write symphonies, or are you just going to write songs? He's like, man, he goes, you can do anything you want. Because I've never seen it before. He said, I've worked with doctors, lawyers, everybody. I mean, that guy was the administrator of Toronto General Hospital, and he worked his way up from being a missionary to a psychiatrist to that. He's all of it. And he said, I've never seen anybody as smart as you. I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody think the way you do and make connections as quickly as you do. It's like you see everything in a heartbeat. You see it all. And I mean, I don't get it all. I'm just John. But man, yeah. Yeah. I guess I do. I guess I'm kind of a smarty pants. Anyway, I ended up teaching. I got off the opportunity. He got me into teachers. I got into teachers college as we did the work, and I didn't want to teach, but he told me, take the job, keep the dream, and find a way to do it. So I took the dream, and there I met Aaron and Vari. And there was a letter at the end of that year. That kid, I met Aaron and Vari, and frick, I don't know what to say, Aaron. I don't know what to say right now. But this is what Aaron said. He wrote me this letter at the end of that school year. Dear Mr. Puro, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a lesson with your instructor today. A lot of teachers wouldn't really care about a kid with a really tough life coming from a single-mothered family. Since I've known you from that day in the hallway when you saw the pictures in my locker and we started playing together, you treated me with respect, helping me with my musical and personal life. And for this, I would like to thank you. You have helped inspire me to pursue a career in the field of music. There would be times when I would think I didn't have the talent, but you were always there to encourage me. You are kind of like the father I never had, and for all this, I'm eternally grateful because there's really no way to show you my gratitude. I still really don't know how to say thank you, but I want you to know that someday when I do reach my musical goals, I will forget you not, and I will then be able to show you how much your help really means to me. Of course, by then you'll be famous, and you'll be enjoying tons of platinums and singles, but that's the future, and I don't like to think about that. What's important is not the present. What is important is now, not the present. No. Yeah. I don't know. This is just too much, guys. Anyway, yours truly, Aaron and Vari. P.S. I just completed a new song, which I included. I wanted your opinion. I think that song was alleged that you called Love. I know you'd already played me Geronimo, but yeah, you have the gift, Aaron. From your lips to God's ears. How do you think God feels now about how you've shown me how much my help meant to you? I never asked a single thing of you, Aaron. Not a thing. See, when I was 16 and I was going through my own personal hell, my father pulled me aside and said, one day a young man's going to come to you in your life, and you're going to recognize him, and you're going to do for him what Coach Jim has done for you. So when you showed up at my door that day, I did just what I had been taught to do by my father and Coach Stan, and later by guys like Stephen Kirkby and Ken Fennick. That's how you'll work with young guys. To help, to encourage, to lift them up, help them see the possibilities of who they could be. Yeah. Luke, Justin, you guys, Nick Halliday. That's all I ever did. What people go around saying that I'm some kind of, what was it? Some kind of like pedophile or something like that. That's just like, really, guys, thanks. That's a great rumor to hear. Anyway, I'm sick. I'm sick of it all. But that's the truth, guys. It's the truth. You know what, man? You folks don't know how bad things are right now. Not for me, but for this whole situation. And it's going to get worse. I mean, what are you guys going to do? Really? What are you going to do? What, are you going to get up on stage and say, this is a song that I didn't write, but I stole from a guy who gave me the best that he could to help me along and treated me as a friend? Like, what about you, Drew? What about the time we sat down in the studio and you just got married and your leg was broken and your wife was working at the gym, meeting all these young guys who were all fit and buff, and I sat there and hung out with you for an hour and a bit and talked with you and built you up because I said, hey man, I know it's hard right now. And I know you're feeling heavy and a little overweight, but man, you got character, you're talented, she loves you, man. Don't you worry. That leg's going to get better, you're going to be okay. How about you, Luke Crowns, when your dad called me up and said, can you come and get Luke because you couldn't get out of bed anymore because you were so depressed over that girl that you'd been dating. And you said you were going crazy and that all these things were happening to you and you didn't know how to stop it. So I picked you up and poured you into the vehicle and took you down to the hospital and sat with you as we waited in the psychiatric ward of the emergency room for a doctor to come and see you. What about you, Justin McCabe, your birthday? Nobody cared. But I got the tickets and I took you and saw Fleetwood Mac. Halliday, you're a good guy, man. You always did right by me. I remember a time I saw you on the street and you drove me to the storage unit so I could pay my rent. Thank you for that. We did that thing up at Jackson's Point where we did the week counseling to kids. Thanks. Just trying to help you get into teacher's college. That's what you were choosing to do at the time anyway. That's what I was taught to do. That's what I was born to do. That's what guys like my dad, Tim Sim, Kurt B. and Kenny, and taught me to do. Anyway, man. John Eldridge writes that then the Lord intervened is perhaps the single most common phrase about him in Scripture. There the children of Israel at the Red Sea, no way out. God shows up. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego thrown into a furnace, and God shows up. The mob kills Jesus, bury him, and then God shows up. Joseph's brother sell him out, beat him down to death, and sell him into slavery. He gets lied about in prison, lied to again and again, and then God shows up and makes him top dog. Aaron, Dave, all you guys, you know why God loves writing such incredible stories? Because he loves to come through in the clutch. It's not in God's nature to limit the risk and cover his bases. Far from it. Most of the time, he lets the odds stack up against him. Think of Gideon's army. 32,000 soldiers, whittles it down to 300. He gives them pots and pans, and he goes out and takes an army of thousands, tens of thousands, and they destroy them. 300 guys, pots and pans. What about the gospel? God needs to get a message out to the human race without which the human race will perish forever. What's the plan? Well, he starts with an unlikely group, a couple of prostitutes, a few fishermen with no better than a grade 2 education, and a tax collector. Angelus Clutch. Entertainment speaks to that. Angelus refers to the painting of the two peasants in the farmer's field, the male and female, as they take a break from digging potatoes to pray. That's how Jen and I see ourselves. We work hard and we honor God in all we do. Clutch refers to what God does. He comes through in the clutch. That's what he's done in our lives together. The story he first started telling with me and then continuing to tell through Jen and I, the story now includes all the incredible people he has brought into our lives to help tell our story in ways that you can't even imagine. God is so good. And to all of you, the story is complete now. From whoever you are all the way to the last song of the epilogue, and it's awesome. Aaron, do you realize how much trouble you guys are in? Not to mention the rest of you. We are not talking some random indie label or film company. I've been as diplomatic as I can be with you guys, but truth is truth. Say what you want, but you guys just won't stop. This is ridiculous. Don't you realize God is chastising you, rebuking you? He's warning you. He's saying, stop. Don't do this anymore. Even under the avalanche of shit sitting on top of you all right now, David, you harden your heart. Carrie, even today, Father's Day, the day we celebrate, you conspired with David, Jessica, and everyone to take the belongings Dave stole from me, cover it up, and pretend that they were in the garage all along. Come on, Carrie. And this again, it's not about the items. It's just that you guys don't want to be caught in a lie, because once that lie gets told, all the lies get told. I get it, and I don't want the stuff back. Once again, let's be clear. It's gross. Just know, people are watching. And it's just, they're like looking and saying, so that's how Christians react? That's how Christians behave? That's what Christians do? Jesus is sick to his stomach. I've done things that have made him sick to his stomach. I don't deny that. But he and I are good. Jen wouldn't be in my life if we were. But this is disgusting. I don't want it to be like this, guys. Please, no, I don't want it to be like this. Just know, people are watching, and we need to keep Jen's scared. Not of me. She's scared of you guys. She's scared. Guys, you're going to have a kid. This isn't fair. This is gross. We've got a beautiful love story going on here, and honestly, see ya, guys. It's over. The story's done. And in spite of it all, it's a beautiful story. It's a really beautiful story. And it's got a beautiful ending. A really, really beautiful ending. And the songs anchor it. And it being told in many different ways. It's awesome. It's really cool what's going on. We're really excited. But this stuff sucks. Just know that I will genuinely honor everybody's contribution, fairly and equitably. And for work that you did, you will be compensated. Absolutely. Alice, I'm sorry you got caught in the crossfire. But I promise you, I know it's been late on the return on investment, but it's going to be handsome and you're going to really appreciate it. And people will know all that you did for me. Really and truly, everybody will know what you did for me. I'm just sorry it got so hard at the end. You too, Lori, I apologize. I guess I was just dealing with demons I didn't even know I was dealing with, and I'm sorry if I brought them into your life. But David, you're the one who opened the door to those demons. I've been dealing with them ever since. You ask any shrink and they'll say, all the damage done in the first 5 years, you spend the next 75 trying to figure it. Anyway, I got someone who really loves me. And man, I really love her. And you know what? It's amazing. It was, I guess, February or March. And you know, I sat there and I was praying one day and I said, God, thank you for giving me somebody to love. And it surprised me because for once I wasn't asking him for someone to love me. I was just so grateful that I had somebody to love, because loving her is the most beautiful thing. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever known. I guess, you know what? I'm just going to finish with this. You know, Dr. Peterson said one thing to me during our sessions, and I want to share it with you. He said, John, as humans, we're all born into the cockpit of an airplane. Some are born into a crop duster or a little Cessna, and well, there are only a few controls and buttons as far as planes go. But they do what they do. For others, maybe it's a private jet. Again, more buttons and controls, but a little higher performance. On and on he went up the levels of aircraft. Finally, he said, there are a few people who get born into the cockpit of a fighter jet or maybe a jumbo 747. Now, there are more buttons and controls all over the place. And you know what, John? More than you can imagine. And you, John, are like that. He said you keep racing down the runway trying to take off and you keep ending up in the ditch. But he promised me that one day I would finally learn how to make it work and make it fly and learn what all the buttons did. And when I did, when I finally took off, it would be like something nobody had ever seen. Well, I know how to work all the buttons now, guys. And God continues to help me do that. Jesus is good to me. And I know who I am. And I also know what I've accomplished. So let me tell you a secret. Nah, I'm not going to tell you a secret. I don't keep secrets. Dr. Peterson also told me, actually it was Hazel, his wife, said, secrets destroy families. Well, isn't she just a prophet? The whole story's true, guys. Everything I've told you is true. I'm not lying and I've never lied. And God now has enough proof. And he's showing it to all the right people. It's over. Completely. The story's done. I went the distance. My final message to you is this. Great it is to believe the dream when you stand in youth by the starry stream, but a greater thing to fight life through and say at the end, the dream is true. Hey, I'm around. Come find me if you want to have a chat, any of you. If there's anything you'd like to say. But Aaron, you tell your brother, don't even think of coming near us. Don't even think about it. People know. The right people know. Past criminal history, current criminal history. Keep him away. He doesn't want to mess with this. God's not going to let him come close anyway. Jen and I are safe. Anyway, we'll all talk soon. God bless us.
I've had enough, I've got nothing left to give. I will never leave this place, yes, this is where I'll live. You will see my face, oh, watch me passing by, knowing I know what you did, oh, each and every lie. To know where you can go, oh, best take it like a man. The world will never be your friend and you're rooted where you stand. Best you go embrace yourself, cause this is gonna hurt. Everything you've done and said will be written in the dirt. For the God of angel armies has a shotgun in his hand. Protection for his children, oh, judgment for the damned. He will bring the fire, oh, the tempest and the flood, the lightning and the thunder, but I'll bring the blood. Yes, there will be blood. Yes, there will be blood. You think I am not capable, you think me overrun. You take comfort in your numbers, I take comfort in the sun. But please let me be clear, oh, let me keep this level. Though I be a servant of the good Lord Jesus, I once worked for the devil. Cause the God of angel armies has a shotgun in his hand. Redemption for his children, oh, judgment for the damned. He will bring the fire, oh, the tempest and the flood, the lightning and the thunder, but I'll bring the blood. Yes, there will be blood. Yes, there will be blood. I suggest you hold steady, stay on your side of the line. The bitterness of your defeat will fade away with time. But if you play the stupid boy or if you play the fool, no, you'll have to kill me. This will not be a duel. This won't be a duel. For the God of angel armies has a shotgun in his hand. Protection for his children, ah, judgment for the damned. He will bring the fire, oh, the tempest and the flood, the lightning and the thunder, but I'll bring the blood. For the God of angel armies has a shotgun in his hand. Protection for his children, oh, judgment for the damned. He will bring the fire, oh, the tempest and the flood, the lightning and the thunder, but I'll bring the blood. Yes, there will be 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 blood.
Good job, man.